You are praying, you are trying, you are avoiding what you know is wrong, and yet nothing seems to change. Days pass, nights stretch longer than before, and the heart quietly wonders what more is required. You wake up with intention. You lower your head in prayer. You raise your hands in dua. You choose restraint over impulse. You choose patience over reaction. Still, the weight remains. This is where many people lose hope. Not because they stopped believing, but because they expected belief to remove the test immediately. What they did not realize is that sometimes belief deepens before relief appears. There is a silent work Allah does before changing circumstances. It is not visible, it is not measurable, but it is powerful. He begins with the heart, not to burden it, but to prepare it. Because a heart that is not ready can be damaged by the very blessing it asks for. You think the delay is about time, but it is about readiness, about whether your trust is complete or conditional, about whether your worship is tied to outcomes or anchored in devotion. History shows this again and again. Those who were closest to Allah were not spared waiting. They were refined by it. Their patience was not passive. It was shaping something inside them. In the waiting, intentions are purified. Motives are stripped of ego, reliance is redirected away from people and fully toward Allah. You begin to notice subtle changes. Your reactions soften. Your anger quiets. Your expectations from the world reduce. Your awareness of Allah increases. This is not stagnation. This is transformation. Slow, unseen, and necessary. Many assume that if Allah loved them, He would answer immediately. But history teaches us something deeper. Allah delays not because He is distant, but because He is protected. Protection is not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. But in reality, something important is being prevented. You may be saved from receiving something too early, from receiving it in a way that would harm your faith, from receiving it when pride could enter the heart. Delay is mercy disguised as absence. It teaches you to wait without resentment, to trust without condition, to believe without guarantees. In these moments, your dua changes. It becomes less about demanding and more about surrendering. Less about outcomes and more about closeness. You start asking differently, not why is this happening, but what are you teaching me? And that question alone changes the entire experience. You begin to see that the delay is not pushing you away, it is pulling you closer, closer to sincerity, closer to humility, closer to reliance. History remembers these moments quietly, a believer waiting, a heart being shaped, a blessing being held back until it can be received safely. So when nothing seems to change, do not rush to despair. Do not assume rejection. Understand that sometimes Allah is doing His most important work before you ever see the result. And when the answer finally arrives, it will not just change your situation, it will match the heart you were prepared to carry it. There are days when the heart feels heavier than the body. You continue doing what is right, but something inside feels tired. Not tired of faith, but tired of waiting. This quiet exhaustion confuses many people. They assume it means weakness. They fear it means failure. But in reality, it often means awareness. Awareness that worship is no longer mechanical. Awareness that the heart is present. Awareness that effort is no longer driven by reward, but by sincerity. When the soul reaches this stage, it becomes sensitive. Small things feel heavy. Silence feels louder. Waiting feels longer. This is not a sign that Allah is displeased. It is often a sign that Allah is drawing the heart closer. Because when worship becomes routine, the heart stays comfortable. But when worship becomes sincere, the heart feels everything. History shows that many of those closest to Allah felt the same heaviness. They carried responsibility in their chests. They feared slipping even slightly. They worried about their intentions. This emotional weight is not meant to crush you. It is meant to refine you, to shift worship from habit to presence. From motion to meaning, at this stage, Allah is not testing how much you can do. He is testing how deeply you can trust. Whether you will continue without reassurance, whether you will remain steady without signs, and this leads to the final forgotten lesson. Nothing changes on the outside until something is released on the inside. We hold tightly to control, to outcomes, to expectations from people, to timelines we create in our minds. We ask Allah, but we also cling to our own plans. We make dua, but we struggle to let go. True surrender is not giving up effort. It is giving up control. It is doing what you can while accepting that the result belongs to Allah alone. History teaches us that relief often comes only after this release happens, after the heart loosens its grip, after fear gives way to trust, after expectation from people fades. When the heart finally lets go, space is created, not empty space, but sacred space, space where Allah's plan can enter freely. This is why change sometimes feels sudden, because the preparation was hidden, the waiting was shaping you, silence was removing what did not belong. And when surrender becomes real, doors open quietly, help arrives without announcement, peace settles without explanation. So if your heart feels tired today, do not fight it. Listen to it. It may be telling you that you are closer than you think, closer to trust, closer to surrender, closer to the moment when Allah changes everything. Sometimes the test is not in what you lose, but in what quietly remain. You expect signs, you look for reassurance, you wait for something dramatic to confirm that Allah is near. But instead, life stays ordinary, days look the same, problems don't disappear overnight, and nothing announces progress. This is another silent keynote. Allah often works without spectacle. He strengthens faith when there is no visible reward. He builds certainty when there is nothing to lean on except Him. History reminds us that many believers walked forward with no guarantee in sight. No confirmation, no immediate relief, only trust. In this stage, faith is no longer fueled by emotion. It is fueled by choice. You choose to believe even when you feel nothing. You choose to continue even when motivation fades. This kind of faith is rare, and it is powerful, because it is not dependent on how you feel that day. It is anchored in who Allah is. When Allah sees a servant remain consistent without signs, that consistency itself becomes a form of dua, a living, breathing prayer. And then there is another truth history whispers but rarely highlights. Not every delay is about you. Sometimes Allah delays because your answer is tied to something you cannot see. Another person, another moment, another event that has not arrived yet. You think your life is paused, but Allah's plan is in motion. Pieces are moving into place beyond your awareness. If the answer came now, it would be incomplete. If the door opened now, it would not lead where it should. So Allah waits, not out of neglect, but out of precision. History shows us that timing is as much mercy as the answer itself. Receiving something at the wrong moment can break what it was meant to bless. This teaches the heart patience without bitterness, waiting without suspicion, trust without needing explanation. You begin to understand that your role is not to control outcomes. Your role is to remain aligned with sincerity, aligned with obedience, aligned with trust. And when alignment is complete, when the heart is steady, when surrender is genuine, when consistency is quiet but firm, Allah opens doors in ways the mind never imagined. Not rushed, not chaotic, but perfectly timed. So if you find yourself still waiting, still trying, still praying, remember this. You are not standing still. You are being shaped. You are being protected. You are being prepared. And when the moment arrives, you will realize that nothing was wasted. Not the waiting, not the silence, not even the tiredness of the heart, because Allah was present in all of it.